Welcome to Spotlight on Civil Contracting. I'm your host, Greg Ward. If you're joining us after watching over the course of the last few weeks, great to have you back. If you're joining us for the first time, great to have your company as well. Over the last few weeks, we've been delving into all of the aspects of the civil contracting industry here in New Zealand. Last week, we were speaking with Teletrack Navman. This week, we're speaking with the MD and Chief Operating Officer of CablePrice. Looking forward to seeing more about what CablePrice does right across the contracting industry here in New Zealand, and also talking around the National Excavator Operator Competition as well. Pat Ward, fantastic to have you here. Welcome along to Spotlight on Civil Contracting. So Pat, CablePrice New Zealand has had a long history with civil contractors in New Zealand, and you are a continuing long-term sponsor of not only the association, but also the National Excavator Operator Competition. So before we delve into all of that, can you tell us what exactly is an excavator?
Well, it's one step up from a shovel. I guess it's man's way to move earth and rock a little bit easier than the old way. Its basic principles are it's hydraulically driven. It's a mobile bulldozer, if you like, on tracks, and it can spin around with an arm and a bucket, and it can pick up and drop down all kinds of things. And in fact, they've become quite used for other purposes beyond that now. They've become very versatile, used for forestry, trees, felling trees and logging trucks, etc. So yeah, an excavator is a very versatile machine.
So where we're filming right now is in the heart of Britomart, and of course in previous years, in the olden days as it were, the development of this area would have been done with picks and shovels. Can you tell us a little bit about what that might have been like and what an excavator has provided to be able to increase their productivity in these kind of developments?
There would have been any number of benefits for using excavators over picks and shovels and wheelbarrows, and I wouldn't mind betting the ground here is volcanic basalt, so the first thing would be trying to break through that. And an excavator with a breaker on the end of it would make short work of breaking that up, as opposed to using picks and probably dynamite and all that kind of thing. But just the sheer moving of dirt and rock, moving it from point A to point B is greatly enhanced with an excavator. So I'd hate to measure the increase in productivity that you'd get, but to build something back then probably took 100 times longer than it would today. The excavator, of course, is combined with other bits of equipment, such as a truck, to take material away.
How did CablePrice become involved in excavators?
CablePrice was the first dealer of Hitachi excavators, hydraulic excavators in the world in 1961. And in fact, CablePrice sold the very first Hitachi excavator, hydraulic excavator in the world, outside of the Japanese domestic market. So we have a little bit of a long connection back to Hitachi, and in the excavator industry in general, we were real pioneers. And so from that point, we have continued to be the agent for Hitachi excavators in New Zealand, and ultimately Hitachi purchased the company in the late 90s, and so the relationship definitely is cemented now to continue selling them for another 50 or more years.
So what does that competition do for contracting in New Zealand?
It helps to get involvement and participation from the various sectors that use those type of products. It brings all kinds of people together that might drive all kinds of gear, and so it's just another form of really everything that man seems to do. There has to be a best at it and a second best at it, and so it sort of gives guys who are working these machines something to aspire to, just like any other type of competition. So yeah, and I think you'll find that some of the guys hone their skills particularly for this competition.
two aspects to the competition. One is sort of the theory side. What's the safe operating practices with the digger checks you should do before you operate the digger, and then it's just your skill.
So, being the MD of CablePrice and excavators, particularly Hitachi excavators being a strong part of the business, do you drive? Have you operated a machine?
No, well, I have, yes, but no, I'm not from the background of operating the machine. But I'm fortunate to have a brother with two machines, and so I get to play on that every now and then too. So, yeah, it's they're not too hard to operate actually. It's when you take them in tricky places, I think the skill level goes up considerably.
Well, you say they're not particularly hard to operate, but I had the opportunity of jumping into a machine in fielding. Take a look at this. So here we are, end of day one of National Excavator Operators Competition. I've managed to blake my way onto a digger. It's a 130, it's just a beast. You know what, I've watched some dirt, I don't think it's that particularly hard. I'll go and give it a go.
Oh, Greg, I think that your skills on machinery are best limited to the lawnmower.
I probably have to agree with you on that one, Pat. I'm hoping for next year that I might actually have a little bit more chance to have a bit more experience on it, and we'll see what happens, but you know, it doesn't bode well.
We'll get you there.
So just to recap on the competition itself, there are a number of regional competitions that happen at branch level, and the winners of those competitions then move on through to the national finals, which are held in fielding at the field day, 14th and 15th of March, happening in 2019. And I know that there's still a number of regional competitions underway, heading towards those. Do you get an opportunity to head to any of the regionals along the way?
Often I don't, but the odd one I've managed to see, and I'm really impressed with the level of interest that they attract, and and the interest in the machines, and the hardware in general, and yeah, it always puts a smile on my face.
And it's an exciting event to watch. In fact, I just want to give a shout out to Troy Calteau from Andrew Haulage, who was the winner of the 2018 National Excavator Operator Competition, and he was awarded at the National Conference in Hamilton in August. Fantastic win.
We'd like to acknowledge the winner of one of our flagship events, the National Excavator Operator Competition, or NEOC as it's commonly known. The excavator competition events are made possible by the CCNZ partnerships with platinum sponsor CablePrice, gold sponsor Connexus, and other partners Harpole, Zed, Humes, First Gas, Doherty, Attachments, Before You Dig, and Contractor Magazine. This year, Troy Calteau from Andrew Haulage in Otago won the NEOC at Central District Field Days in Manawatu. After first qualifying by winning the Otago Branch Regional Excavator Operator Competition. So Troy, please come to the stage. Another round of applause. So Troy, would you like to say a few words?
All right, we'll see how this goes. For those who know me, you know this is not my forte, but I'll give it a go. I'd like to start by thanking CCNZ for inviting me up to this convention and for this acknowledgement. It's blowing me away. See, I'm getting a bit here already. Also, I'd like to thank all the major sponsors, especially Harpole, for this night. And cheers to Mum and Dad for coming, as I wouldn't be here without it.
And we're certainly looking forward to seeing who may be taking it out again. over the course of the next competition, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing that in fielding in March of 2019. So you're very strong supporters of the National Excavator Operator Competition in quite a lot of different ways. Can you outline some of the things that you do as an organisation that provides the support?
Well, I guess one of the main things is to provide the equipment that's used in the competition, and we provide a range of machines from smaller machines up to some of the mid-range machines, and we take them around or take them to various venues in the country for these specific events, and we also provide various promotional gear, if you like. But yeah, mainly the gear would be the biggest thing that we put into the competition.
That's a significant investment in terms of any organisation doing something like this, because it's not just the equipment. You're providing new equipment out to the sites. You're providing the transport, but not only that, you provide the technical staff that go with it. So it's not just the matter of the equipment going in. So
that's true. Look, we've got people that give our time. Actually, a lot of it's their personal time, guys in our sales team and technicians and people like that do go along to these events, and you get a lot of questions. It's not just the competition, but it's the people that come around the machines when they're not working, or after the competition. A lot of questions that they ask, and so we've got our people doing a lot of that kind of thing also. And that's they're the excavator drivers of tomorrow. All the kids that are there looking at these machines.
Well, that's providing such a good outlet to say that contracting is a extremely valid career choice, and here's the excellence within the industry by showing exactly what an excavator can do. Not only in the fun games that we show the public, but also in the very specific builds and projects that have been put in place by the judges.
Yeah, that's right. And I think a lot of the young kids today can relate to a lot of these machines anyway. They use very similar technology to what they're growing up with, that you and I didn't get to grow up with, and so hopping on an excavator and using it now is not a lot different to using some of the games that kids use with their computers. And I think that's a smart thing that the manufacturers have done. They've tapped into that a little bit. So
Pat, imagine that I am a gung-ho young excavator operator with mad skills in the industry, and I want to get into the competition. What would your suggestion be for me?
I would suggest making contact with your local branch of CCNZ and expressing your interest there, and I'm sure they will point you in the right direction. I'm sure people at CablePrice could point you in the right direction too, in terms of those people to talk to. But yeah, we sponsor, and I think CCNZ are the people to talk to about going into the competition.
The technological increases. Are we ever likely to see a driverless excavator?
Yeah, absolutely. I would suggest that a machine control that we have today is touching on that already. Apart from the operator takes it to where it's to be operated, it does a lot of functions itself, and we already have autonomy in our rigid mining trucks. So it's coming, I would suggest.
So from an industry standpoint, that's something to prepare for, and to ensure that from an operator standpoint, that we're morphing the skill set that is the human part of that skill set to ensure that we've got a continuing vibrant civil contracting industry.
Yeah, I think so. I think there'll always be scenarios where, depending on the type of work, there will still be human input required for a long time anyway. I don't think it's right to say never. Who knows what tomorrow might hold, but yeah.
That's where the power of the National Excavator Operator Competition comes in, because it means that people are continuing to upskill and provide that level of human input that certainly at this point the machines still can't do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And look, there are so many applications out there that require human judgment and skill, and operators are still good operators are still in short supply, and so I think it would be a really good career for a lot of youngsters to get into.
On that note, from a CablePrice perspective, How involved are you in training or familiarisation with your equipment?
Every machine we sell has a form of induction. Of course, sometimes we sell a machine to people who have already got them, so you can't teach them more than they may be able to teach us more. But we do like to induct people into our machines and the whole package actually. But the training also to our technicians, I think, is probably one of the most critical things, because that's what's going to keep the machine functioning properly and no downtime, high levels of productivity for many years to come. And to that extent, we invest a lot into training our technicians. It seems to prove itself in the results that we get. We recently came runner-up in the global top tech Hitachi top tech competition. We were world champions from the previous round and the previous round before then, so we've consistently won that competition or come runners up. But if you go and look on our Scania side of our business also, we also have the top global team of technicians there, and we've done that multiple times too. So great testament to our trainers. They're obviously really good at what they do, and they're hitting the right spot. Our Isuzu technicians also are the top in New Zealand, having won the competition. So I'd say we're doing something right there. And the trick is to reflect that into the way we support our customers also.
The competition is run in conjunction with CC&Z, and you have such a long and storied history with CC&Z. How important do you see the relationship between CablePrice and CC&Z?
Well, we see it as important to support the industry, and that means to back events that bring people together within the industry too. And as you know, CC&Z is a very good conduit and facilitator for the industry. So, and I don't think this is necessarily a CablePrice thing any more than it would be any of our competitors. I think we're all equal within the industry, and I think it's just good for us all to get together, talk about common challenges and common aspirations, and what we need to be doing as good corporate citizens and the whole deal. So we really support it on a whole number of different levels.
So Pat, you must be happy with the state of the industry at the moment. I certainly look around at the construction projects that are going, not only in the horizontal construction obviously, but vertical as well. And you only need to look at the crane index when you look across the Auckland skyline, and you can see that we are doing relatively well. How are we going from a CablePrice perspective?
Look, it's interesting, and whatever's going on for CablePrice will be going on for our competitors equally. And there are challenges in our industry. Yes, you can look across the skyline in Auckland and there's a hell of a lot going on. And I guess there's a number of aspects to that, one of them being that there's a lot of things we don't think about that are just boiling away or ticking away under the surface, such as the amount of commercial buildings that are going up, let alone the domestic dwellings. But my observations is our industry breathes in and out with the economy, and sometimes the breathing is not always synchronised, and it's very interesting the type of equipment that's used to do some of the bigger projects. We have enjoyed some very good projects in New Zealand, such as Transmission Gully in particular, but others also where we can put most of the products that we sell to good use, and there's good sort of tenure of work also. It's what happens after that we also need to focus on, and you can end up with a market that sometimes can be swamped with product coming out of big projects, and I think governments could consider that in their planning.
I was just going to ask you actually about, from a political standpoint, how closely do you watch the political playing field?
Yeah, pretty close. we take that try to get that longer perspective on the industry, and short term and longer term. Some of it can dictate the kind of stocking policies you might work to, or what products you're likely to sell next year. So there's some big money tied up in these products, and some of them have some quite specialised areas of application. So if there's nothing happening in that segment, then it may be that you don't carry a lot of that product. So looking at the political landscape, seeing what's coming up in roading infrastructure in particular, is something I think you'll find we all do.
I think the horizontal construction is a significant part of your business. How important is that to CablePrice?
Well, when you look at our product lineup and how much of it's sort of suited to that or made for that type of work. So there's a high dependency on it, but we also are fortunate enough to have products that can be used in other segments such as forestry and general construction or general contracting, such as agricultural contracting, building dams and that kind of thing. But yeah, some types of work take big lumps of gear, and Transmission Gully again is a good example of a project that swallowed up a lot of gear for a good length of time. Okay, so if you look at those cranes that line the horizon, the question is, will they be there in another 5, 6, 10 years' time? If they're not dotting the horizons, where are they? They'll be in yards somewhere gathering rust. And I think one of the critical considerations for our industry is keeping the collective vehicle park utilised. And that's one of the biggest challenges we face, and I think that's very reliant on the political landscape. I guess the government makes policy based on social need and what the people want, and I think they play a difficult game of having to juggle many considerations. But yeah, definitely the breathing in and out that I referred to before and getting out of sync can mean that we can be doing it tough even in quite good times if there's no utilisation out there, there's no demand within the market. And it's very interesting even when you take such as the housing construction demand, say in Auckland, where we've not doing so much large-scale road construction, we do more housing construction. They all use equipment also, but interestingly enough, they will use a 1.7 tonne or a 3 tonne, 5 tonne mini excavator to put drainage in or do various small bits of work. And the value of a machine like that might be only 1/5 of a 20 or 40 tonne excavator, which gets utilised on the big projects. So looks busy, but not necessarily pumping the same amount of revenue back into our industry.
So not only do you provide Hitachi excavators to the market, but you also have a range of other brands and marks, Scania, obviously from a truck perspective, and John Deere as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about CablePrice and its breadth of operation across contracting, construction and quarrying? Sure.
Scania has been the other mainstay or large product that CablePrice has had in its portfolio. We've had that relationship with Scania for 27 years, selling Scania trucks since 1991. We have John Deere forestry and construction equipment, graders, bulldozers, wheel loaders again, and all the different forestry machines, skidders, forwarders, harvesters. But another product which is probably not so well known is the McCloskey quarrying equipment range, which we also sell in New Zealand. We endeavour to provide that total solution to customers so that they only have to go to one place to buy the product and to get it supported.
I think support is always a critical factor when it comes to any equipment, and you've got a wide range of sites throughout New Zealand to be able to provide that support. What is it that CablePrice does that is so beneficial to the contracting industry in terms of support?
Well, they say the salesman sells the first one and your technicians sell all the rest. And I've certainly seen that in action. And, I guess you could also see the inverse of that. If you don't do a good job supporting product, you pretty quickly drive customers away. So we've got 13 branches up and down the country, and independent service dealers also. And we have worked to the principle of providing coverage anywhere in New Zealand. So you can come to our workshop or we can come to you. And of course, it depends on what needs doing with an excavator. They're tricky little things depending on what you need to do. You might need to have it in the workshop. But otherwise, we will put a field service truck in the field and do most work there. So we do it 24 hours a day, all over New Zealand, and we pride ourselves on supporting customers. I think the key thing there was we've endeavoured to instill it into the staff at CablePrice to feel the same pain that a customer feels when their machines aren't working. We don't get it right every time, but we work hard at it.
Certainly my experience with CablePrice and the people who work with CablePrice, like any organisation, it comes down to the people that is within that organisation, and the work that you do is testament to that. As you're speaking, you're very passionate about the products, and you're very passionate about the organisation. What is your background? How did you come into the industry and come into CablePrice?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people come and work in our industry because they love the big boys' toys. And that's not what brought me to CablePrice, as a matter of fact, although I have a practical background, being born and bred on a 1,000-acre sheep and beef farm up the back blocks of Hawke's Bay. But my background is consultancy and accounting. And so I came into CablePrice in that capacity, in fact spent 10 years as the CFO. So I have an intimate understanding of the business. I've become very passionate about the business in terms of wanting CablePrice to succeed. And so I've worked hard to support the business. And I guess I've come to learn a lot about the big boys' toys along the way too. And, I can relate to many of the technical aspects of the products, and just time takes care of that. So that's where I come from in CablePrice.
Excellent stuff. Well, potentially I hope to see you at one of the competitions around the place. It's been absolutely fantastic having you here on the show. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us. We've been speaking here with Pat Ward, MD and Chief Operating Officer of CablePrice, as we've discussed some of the CablePrice products and business, and of course the National Excavator Operator Competition, which is coming up for the finals in 2019. Looking forward very much to attending that, and perhaps we'll see you there. Next week we'll be talking with Schick Civil Construction, and until then, have a fantastic week, and we'll catch you somewhere on a project around New Zealand. This is Spotlight on Civil Contracting. See you soon.